Hello, my name is John Coggin. I'm the owner of Daniel Smith. And today we're in the artist studio with artist Angus McEwan. Angus is from Scotland. Angus is a phenomenal artist. He's also a brand ambassador of Daniel Smith. He's won many awards. I think you'll enjoy his discussion of his tips, techniques, and how he paints. Thank you, Angus.
Hi, my name is Angus McEwan and I'm a brand ambassador for Daniel Smith Paints. I want to show you around my studio today and give you a little insight into some of the methods I use when I'm working. So here we are in my studio. No windows. This was built 18 years ago as a studio, and it has a door and 2 skylights and just lots of wall space. And you can see this is where I do some of my kind of sitting down work, which I don't do very often, but occasionally I will work flat, and this is a sort of table that I've used for that process. I work on quite a few pieces at the same time. I work on about 11 pieces I've got on the go right this moment. This is one that I'm working on here, where I'm kind of developing an idea. I always try to do things in a slightly different way each time I approach my work. So this is me experimenting, and I tried this painting in a very unusual sort of manner, and this is me just playing around with that and experimenting with some of the things that I do. Here's a kind of piece here that I'm working on. That's a large piece. I've got some of the larger ones in here. You can see a large piece in there. And these are all things that are sort of in process. I'm working along, and I kind of I sidestep them when I kind of get into areas where I either get bored or where I think I'm not sure what I'm going to do next. Here's another one I'm working on. So I can hop between one painting and another painting, just depending on what I'm doing at the time or how I'm feeling at the time. This is where my palettes are. This is, I have a warm palette, my cool palette. There's my warm palette, there's my cool palette there, and some sort of smaller pieces. I also create many tints. So usually with white or a combination of other colours, I'll create my tints, and it means that I can then have my own range of colours that I can dip into so many different paintings. Here's my kind of larger easel. This is a piece I'm working on. Something that I did from I saw in Shanghai. I use multiple kind of photographic images to create this piece, mainly because there's me kind of searching for the vanishing point. Mainly I do this when I go on my travels, and I'm not sure whether I'm going to have the opportunity to do any kind of painting or drawing at the time. Sometimes I do drawings when I'm there, quick drawings, but when I'm traveling, it's really difficult to kind of do that. So I have the opportunity to take some photographs. I will take some photographs. This is where I do my online teaching, and the sort of setup I have here at the moment. And this is me busy working on this piece. There's another image. So this one's ongoing as well. That one's ongoing also. Some of the materials that I use, what I'll do is quite often I'll collect things that will have kind of textures, or maybe have an interesting kind of surface that I want to use in my painting. And so a lot of these objects in fact have been in paintings. And here's some pieces that are kind of ongoing. And you can see that's the same image that's in there, and what I do is I'll do one in one method, and then I'll do the same thing in a different method. And you can see that the bottoms are slightly different in each painting. And they're both ongoing. I just have kind of abandoned them a little bit at the moment. Here's some pieces that are already kind of framed, and I use these kind of very clean frames, which are bespoke frames that I get made Some of these are Guild, but these are the sort of newer ones I've been using, which are just kind of painted. Here we have my plan chest, and I keep a lot of my kind of finished pieces in the plan chest, so there's some smaller pieces. These days I kind of keep all the pieces like this until I know whether I'm going to use them or not in a painting. And I've got some of the larger ones that are waiting here, that they might end up in exhibitions. And so you can see it's rather cluttered, and that's actually, I quite like it this way. It gives me kind of little alcoves. It's almost like a landscape that you kind of meander through. I'm not so keen when I have a big open space behind me. I quite like being kind of enclosed in sort of small spaces. And so there we have it. I have a fairly kind of extensive collection of brushes. I pick up brushes anytime abroad, especially when I'm in China. And if I go to Russia and places like that, I try and pick up some brushes, and anything that I kind of think looks useful or looks interesting, or something that I think will add to my collection, then I will pick them up and buy a few brushes, and they sit waiting for me to need and to use when I'm working. I will have a kind of collection of brushes for oil, and then I'll have a collection of brushes here for acrylics. But obviously I've got a bigger collection of watercolour brushes. I have this collection here. This is a new kind of range that I had made, and you can see the reason why. I kind of created a brush that was small enough, and you can see the difference in size here. A brush that was small enough that it was balanced really well in the hand, and it could be used like a kind of pen. And I had these made. They're Kolinsky Sable Mix, and as you can see, it has my name on it. But the reason for using that is I quite like synthetic hair because it has a lot of spring to it, but I quite like the kind of take up of the water with the Kolinsky Sable. So I kind of asked them to mix the two together, and they've come up with this really interesting brush, and a really interesting range of brushes. And you can see this is a 00. So they're specifically made for detail. I kind of had these created specifically for myself so that I can do a lot of really fine detail, and they're less tiring in the hand, and as I say, it's more like having a pen as opposed to a brush, which is usually balanced beyond your hand, and it just sits nicely in my hand. So that's something that I've been using recently, and I've been using quite a lot actually. And I had some sort of squares made, as well as some sort of square brushes here with the same range, as well as the rounds. I have a kind of a collection of really cheap brushes, and I have a collection of really expensive brushes, and I use kind of whatever I think horses for courses, as it were. This is this type of brush here, in actual fact, is something that I would use a lot, and it's a worn out. You can see that it's actually all splayed, and it looks like it's actually on its last legs. But I use this for stippling. I'll use it for splattering. I'll use it for graining, if I want to create the illusion of wood or something like that. So even really worn out brushes, I wouldn't throw them out. They're always useful. They're always something that you can utilize, and I use this an awful lot. And I have a lot of my kind of, you can see another one here is a bigger brush here. Same idea. You can see it's all splayed a little bit, but big splatters, big sort of texture marks. For me, perfect. You can see it's well used, well abused. The paint on the handle's all fallen off, but it's actually one of my favourite brushes. So I hope you enjoyed the wee kind of tour around my cluttered mess of a studio, and hopefully at some point soon we can all get back together again. I really look forward to meeting everybody and seeing everybody once again on my travels. Take care, and we'll be seeing you soon.
I hope you enjoyed watching Angus and his In the Artist Studio episode. He's a wonderful, wonderful artist. You can easily look him up on a site to go to see his webpage, and I hope you enjoy. Thank you all.